Welcome to Managed Services Talks. My name is Magda, and today I'm talking with Damian, the CE Managed Service leaders, about what managed services really are, how they differ from outsourcing and GBS, Global Business Services, and why so many organizations are looking at working in this model now.
Magda, excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Today, we are increasingly seeing companies being under a lot of pressure. According to our CEO survey, half of the CEOs are not comfortable about the long term stability of their organizations. On the same time, there is a high pace of technology and macroeconomical change that significantly reduces the comfort and confidence in short term growth. Managed services is gaining a momentum in the CEO agenda. And it's much more than just an answer to the question how to run critical business functions in a predictable, stable, and resilient manner. Let's explore it further. Damian, what is driving so many companies to look at the managed services right now?
To answer your question, I think if you think about what is happening around us, if you think about regulatory pressures that our clients are facing, if you think about complexity of technology change, all of that is actually driving the companies to look for alternative models. Because if you combine all that change around us, the agentic revolution, if you combine that with the cost pressures that the clients are facing and also shortage of talent, you will see that the companies reach their level of being able to deal with all that complexity. So they are more and more looking at partners to help them go through that change, help them transform as organizations, help them move to the next level.
Mm-hmm. And what about cost predictability? Is it still something that is important, or managed services is something more?
Of course, cost predictability is the key, and it's on the radar of all executives. But cost is only a starting point, because as we're talking about transforming of businesses, it cannot be only a cost play. So on top of that, it's about bringing efficiencies into the model, being able to look beyond the kind of day-to-day operations, reducing the risk. That's kind of what the companies need to face.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, managed services are compared with outsourcing. So, how would you, in a simple way, explain the difference?
Yes, this is a typical question that you get.
Sorry.
No, it's nothing wrong with that. So outsourcing versus managed services. I always like to say that managed services are like outsourcing on steroids, because this is taking the typical outsourcing to the next level, because it's much more about technology-led change to the organization. It's much more about being a strategic partner to the clients, help with insights, help with more complex processes, move towards output-based model rather than certain activities. So this is where you're able to much more become a partner on a transformation journey of a client. So for me, that's a big difference from a much more tactical outsourcing.
Mm-hmm. Outsourcing is one, but what about the GBS, Global Business Services? It's GBS, managed services, are about professionalizing, centralizing delivery, but they are somehow different. Can you explain that?
And I'm not sure I agree here with you, so I'll be a little bit controversial, because if I think about GBSs, for me, modern GBSs are also trying to find their way in this new model. For me, they are becoming almost like managed service providers internally to the organization. So this is much more, they are looking to provide more value, more insights to their clients, to their business, to really become relevant. So from that perspective, I would say GBSs and managed services are not that indifferent. It's internal versus external in that sense. I think the challenge that GBSs face is that they do not have sufficient budgets for innovation to transform in every aspect of their operations, because it's just simply impossible. So external providers have a bigger advantage here because they have those investments. They are making those investments in specific areas, and they are able to provide the know-how, the technologies, and in that GBS sense, they do not necessarily have to be like a competition, because they can help enable GBSs to be more successful by providing the know-how, by providing the insights, and help the GBSs also quicker transform.
From the client's perspective, what are the main benefits of using the managed service model?
That's an excellent question. I think every client asks that question. I think and maybe I touched in the previous question a little bit in that respect, because if you think about it, it's about bringing regulatory experience, technology insights, operational excellence into the client environment. It's about bringing predictability to the way the services is delivered. We always say, we have a skin in the game, so a provider has skin in the game to actually make sure that the outcomes are of a quality and are delivered effectively. So it's about increasing insights that you provide to the client. It's about speeding up the transformation, because you're infusing a lot of insights into client organization, and you're sharing those insights, ways of working, technologies to actually improve the result and help the business outcome.
And in which business areas the managed service works the best?
So I would say in the areas where you have a level of repeatability, complexity, where you have cost pressure, where there is a regulatory need. In areas like that, I think we see the biggest benefits, and the examples would be tax, right? It would be finance, it would be HR, it would be legal, anything that is related to risk and compliance areas, but also things like cyber, such as application evolution services. Those would be the ones that I would consider the main ones. But in reality, from managed service perspective, it's about where you see on one side the client's needs, and the kind of requirement for a transformation, and on another hand, managed service provider coming with the unique skill set. And I will go back to what I said before: a combination of subject matter expertise, technology innovation, and operational excellence. Those are kind of key prerequisites for a good relationship between the managed service provider and the client.
Managed service today, it's much more than an alternative to an outsourcing. The model helps to regain predictability, control, build operational resilience, but also helps to gain access to operational capability that helps to deal with a lot of changing environment when delivering critical business processes. Damian, thank you so much for today and sharing your experience.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.